the conversation now, and you mentioned the majority whip. He's advocating publicly for you to be the next chair of the DNC. What's up, bro? You can do this?
Well, man, listen, it's a deep honor to even be in the mention of such an important job. And I've just been clear about it. No need to be mealy mouthed. If the president-elect asks me to serve, then I will. I believe in the Democratic Party. I believe in our values. That's not to say that the party is perfect. There's a lot of stuff that we need to do in order to make it better, to make sure that this is a party that hears people, that sees people, that values people, and is going to fight for them. And I believe that I bring some skills that can help us realize that. And, I'm just waiting for the call. So, Mr. President.
Well, let me also congratulate you on your race. Just before we talk about Georgia, I think what you've done is make South Carolina the new Georgia, so to speak. I mean, because it's a process. Stacey had to do what she did get the ball rolling to get Georgia where it is. You are doing that in South Carolina. You may not have won the seat this time, but you shook up everything, and it's coming. It always happened the first time. I mean, it's around the corner. So I want to commend you for that. How are you? How are you? I know how campaigns are. Have you caught your breath yet? Have you recovered?
Oh, man. We put everything out in the field, Mark. I did everything that I think we could have done in order to really make this a race. I mean, we had Lindsey sweating and crying on Fox News up until the very last day, because he knew what we knew, that it was close and it was a race. But Donald Trump was able to pull out some folks. I didn't even know where they came from, man. But he was able to pull out some folks. I mean, just to give you the context, in 2016, Donald Trump got 1.15 million votes in South Carolina, and he beat Hillary Clinton by 14 points. I ended up getting 1.1 million votes, meaning that the only difference between what I got and what Trump got in 16 was 50,000 people. But the Republicans and Trump were able to pull out some more folks that just blew away the model. And we saw it not only in South Carolina, we saw it across the country. And but what it means is you fall off the bike, you brush yourself off, you get back on the bike. We have now identified 1.1 million people in this state who wanted to change, and we're going to continue to talk to them, and we're going to grow that number. And so I feel really positive that South Carolina will become the next Georgia, but we just got to work on it. Stacey created a model that I think many of us can replicate, and we can definitely replicate it here in South Carolina.
Yeah. And I feel you on the people Trump brought out. I've been talking, my audience will recognize what I'm about to say, because I've been talking to several posters on the show, not just in South Carolina, but people were finding these hidden Trump voters. One post even calls them the hidden Trump deplorables, and they will come out just for him, maybe not anything else. And we may be seeing that in Georgia as we segue to Georgia. Because the question now is, with him not being on the ballot and all the confusion and mixed signals that he and other Republicans are sending, they may not vote in Georgia in January. Now, we're not going to take that for granted. We're not going to assume that. We're going to get ready.
Yeah.
But I think we saw that in your state and others this go around. Folk came out that we just never saw before.
Yep.
And it was deep.
Well, and I think you're right. We can't take anything for granted. We got to make sure that we get our folks out. And we know this. We're not going into this election blind. We know that there are enough votes in Georgia to get a Democrat elected. And the reason why we know that is because Joe Biden, since the first time since 1992, actually pulled Georgia across the finish line for the Democrats. And we saw how close Stacey came just a few years ago. And so you got two amazing candidates in Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, who I believe are going against the Bonnie and Clyde of the United States Senate. And they will go in and they'll represent the people. They're not worried about their stock portfolios. They're worried about the fact that there are folks who are unemployed because of COVID, that people are standing in soup lines and all because of COVID. People are on the verge of being evicted right around Christmas because of COVID. And their two senators, the current senators, aren't doing a thing about it. But John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, as soon as they get into the Senate, they're going to start working on behalf of the people of Georgia. Heck, they're already working on behalf of the people of Georgia. And so we just need to make sure, in order to make it happen, people got to go to the polls.
Yeah. Was there anything that you learned from your race that you would advise either the candidates or the GOTV effort in Georgia, that you would advise them or give them advice on in terms of what to do between now and January 5th?
Yeah, and you know, Mark, I've been in touch with John and Reverend Warnock about this. You know, a few things. I told them, I said, when they punch you, you better punch back and punch back harder. You know, and we see it right now. You particularly see it with the demonization of Reverend Warnock in this race. I can tell you, it's almost like a cookie cutter. The same exact ads that Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham are running against me are the same ads that Mitch McConnell and Kelly Loeffler are running against Raphael Warnock. And you see the same type of things with both John and Raphael, that they're trying to call them radical and socialist and this and that. I mean, you know, the biggest bunch of socialists are all on the Republican side of the aisle. But their socialism is only for the wealthy and the rich. They want to give all of what working people make and give to our government in order to provide for the general welfare, and give it all to the most wealthy who already have everything that they need. And so, you know, what John and Raphael are fighting for, they're fighting for health and jobs and justice, and making sure that the American dream is alive and well for all of us, not just a select few. And so I told them, I said, when they punch you and they start talking about all these things, you know, and you punch back. Make sure you're also doing canvassing. You know, one of the things that we did not do until the very last minute, and I have mixed feelings about this, because, you know, my bright line was, we got to protect the voters and we got to protect the people who are working on our campaign. And so we decided to hold off on canvassing until we got a better understanding of COVID, and we talked to some doctors about how we could go about doing it. And so, whereas the Republicans did not hold off, they were doing it for months on end, not really caring whether they exposed their people or their voters. And so we got the guidance that we needed in order to do it, and do it in the right fashion. I'm happy to see that that's what they're doing in Georgia. They have also gotten that guidance so that they can go, because it's important to talk to the people directly. TV ads and radio spots can only go so far. Pieces of mail can only go so far. Sometimes people need that personal touch in order to really help them understand the importance and the urgency of going out to vote. And so I'm happy to see that they're doing that. And you know, these guys got a shot, and we all just have to do our part in making sure that they can get it across the finish line.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And you mentioned punching back too. You know, that's so important. I think, you know, and I'm sure you agree, sometimes those of us who are Democrats can sometimes come off as being too polite.
Yes.
I think you could still be polite though and defend yourself. And you did that in South Carolina. And I love what John's been saying about the Bonnie and Clyde reference, because that's exactly what it is. People need to know that, don't they, that these are two individuals, you know, in the midst of a pandemic, were trying to make some money for themselves.
Amen, man. They don't give, excuse my language, they don't give a damn about the people in Georgia. Because if they did, they would be pushing Mitch McConnell right now to go ahead and have a COVID relief bill as we're approaching the Christmas holidays. There are a lot of people suffering in that state right now, and it takes real leadership. That leadership means even going to your majority leader, the leader of your party, the president of the United States, and saying, I was elected, duly elected, to represent the people of Georgia, and therefore I'm going to do that, regardless of whether or not you agree with it or not. But these folks don't have that sort of core values and core convictions to even go and say that, because they don't care. They only care about their own stock portfolios. But we need some people there who care about the folks in Georgia. And Mark, I have personal ties to Georgia. My mama lives in Georgia. My sister lives in Georgia. My niece and nephew live in Georgia. My aunts and uncles live in Georgia. They all in the outskirts of Atlanta. I want to make sure they got some people there that are going to fight for them and and our family and their communities. And I can tell you, Loeffler and Perdue ain't fighting for anybody but themselves.